Hello, Assalamualaikum everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're so glad to have you with us today. We're going to talk about a topic that I think every AI builder will understand today, the challenge that they face when they're creating agents and they want to use those agents smoothly across different apps and services. And that's exactly what we are, here to talk about today. So our session today is being done in partnership with Fasten.ai, and it's all about building smarter context-aware agents using the UCL. And what UCL is, we are here to have, we have Usman Aslam with us today to explain all of that with us. Usman, are you here?
Yeah, yes, right, I'm here.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Usman. Usman is an ecosystem builder. He has been in tech and in this ecosystem for over 8 years now, and he's currently leading developer relations at Fasten.ai. So over to you, Usman.
Yeah, thank you so much, Isra, and kudos to atomcamp for for this collaboration. I'm really excited to showcase the intricacies around MCPs and what next is there within the agentic space, right? So I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Okay, let me know if you guys can see my screen.
We can see your screen.
Okay. Before getting into AI agents, right? So I want to emphasize on that there are three phases of how we go with AI, right? So there's the prompt aspect where you're typing in prompts, where you're putting in your queries, and your and what kind of LLM you're using. It's depending upon that. It's answering you those respective queries. Or apart from that, then after that, the next phase is then you build AI agents that are tailored to your needs, right? So we've seen a lot of AI agents that are built for ride hailing, for telemedicine, for any form of services. But at the end of the day, they are still LLMs, right? And then there's a third aspect, which is context driven AI agents, right? So before getting into that, just drop in the chat if you have built context-driven AI agents. If so, in what way? Or if you have built any form of AI agents that even aren't context-driven. What is context-driven? I'll get to that in a bit. So just moving forward, my name is Man. I oversee developer relations at Fasten.ai. What Fasten is, I'll get to that in a bit. I'm a low-code, no-code advocate, and I've been working with a lot of industries for a long time. And I'm an ecosystem builder who loves to, build stuff. And I'm currently running with the crew as a side thing. So before getting started, right, all questions are welcome, energy and clarity. And if you are someone who is like, I haven't built an agent, I don't know what an agent even is. If it's chat GPT or what is context driven. So this session is friendly for all types of builders because there are a lot of people such as yourself that are business owners and just want to own a solution rather than building a solution. And then there are a lot of people who are like, they don't want to get into the complexity of building, but they just want to build and deploy something, right? So this that session is going to be focusing on that, right? So as an icebreaker, I'm a huge gaming addict. I love advocating about different technologies, and I'm a runner. So moving forward towards what's the existing issue with technology so far, and this is where I sort of take a step back and help you guys understand what we are trying to achieve, right? So when you're trying to build products, right, and MVP stage, more technologies, less businesses, right, and there's more complex resources and more complex process and overwhelming resources, right? So I've seen a lot of companies during my time, build solutions that are too complex or have so much technology, and the amount of time and infrastructure is required, that's just a lot. So this is where the low code and no code paradigm shift comes into play, right? Because at the end of the day, you're augmenting full code. You're trying to reduce costs, you're trying to reduce manpower, and trying to make sure that what you are building, you're able to deploy that in, I think, like a week versus like 3 months. So that's the idea of the low code, no code paradigm shift, right? So this is where Fasten comes into play. So Fasten initially, at the essence of it, we are a low code, no code AI platform that allows builders and SaaS companies to connect and automate entire embeddable infrastructure. So what it means is that if you're building an entire product and you're like, hey, I don't want to hire like 10 software engineers and build entire infrastructure. So this is where Fasten comes into play, where you just need to connect all of the tools that you need, put them into a workflow that you can embed, and you're good to go. And it speeds up around 70% of development, right? And you can work with up to 1,000 plus tools, 1,000 plus applications, and it's like a secure box where you can just deploy and ship anywhere. So we're backed by Enter and Live Oak Ventures, and we are highlighted by Product Hunt, Forbes, VentureBeat, and Yahoo Finance. So you can easily look up at fasten.ai. And we work with companies like HP, AWS, Paragon, Retalio, Intelligence, and so on. And by the way, we're also hiring. So if you guys are interested to learn a bit more about Fasten and our upcoming opportunities, we're hiring AI engineers, we're hiring integration engineers and full stack developers. So if you guys are interested to learn more about Fasten, so you can just easily just scan this QR code, or you can just put in this URL, and you'll be joining our exclusive community where you can just get a referral and bootstrap your process into the hiring aspect. Okay, so moving forward, right now, the third wave of AI is agents, right? Everyone is building agent, whether you're trying to build an advisory platform, whether you're trying to build a finance AI agent. AI agents are everywhere, right? But there is a problem to that. Like at the end of the day, like if you look at it, right, that most AI agents are done, right? And the reason why I say this is because your AI agents aren't really context driven. So I'll give you an example, right? So if you want your AI agent to, let's say, work with Slack or Jira, right? So you're gonna type something on your agent, and it's gonna give you like, "Hey, I can't do that, but this is something that you can try." So it means that your AI agent isn't actually intelligent; it's just lacking context, right? So how to make it intelligent, right? And you might be thinking there are a lot of developers out there that might be thinking that, hey, I can use an API key, right? But the problem with API is that each API requires their own different authentication and integration. So think of it like entire house, right? And in each house, each door has like a specific key you need to unlock. So you can't really access everything that you want, right? And if we think about it from a development standpoint, from a business standpoint, it means thousands of APIs working endlessly and just too much infrastructure to manage, right? So this is where model context protocol comes into play, right? So for those people who don't know what model context protocol is, it allows your LLM or your AI agent to work with or every single app out there. So if you just Google like Notion MCP, Zapier MCP, Slack MCP, you'll see that there are MCPs for everything, right? So before the MCP paradigm shift, you had to plug in unique API keys and then we configure them accordingly with respect to the action that you're trying to push, right? But now with MCP, what happens is that it's like a master key or a type or a USB Type C thing, right? So imagine that Slack, Google Drive, and or GitHub, they are different USB, right? USB Type C, USB, traditional USB, or even a VGA, right? And what Model Context Protocol does, it's like a universal adapter. So you're just connecting, and then and you're providing that functionality to your LLM, whether you're building an AI agent or whether you're just working with your desktop, you can easily just connect it with that preferred LLM without the hassle of integrating every single API one by one. So if we talk about the current state of MCP, right? MCP has been there over for a year, but if we look at MCP, right now, I would believe there are around more than 500 plus MCPs, and they're increasing down the minute, right? So it means that if you are a business owner, or if you're a developer, and if you're building an AI agent that can work with 10 to 15 applications, then it means that too much time spent in action mapping. Every single product has nearly their own MCP. And you need to repeat the same setup. So you need to map the actions, then you need to configure the server URL, then you need to define the environment variables. So it's a lot of hectic work, right? And the worst part is that you or your customer doesn't know what's happening. So if you have triggered an action to say send a message on Slack, right, via your agent. So at the end of the day, what happens is that you don't know if that action has been successful, has it failed, what was the time that took in that. So you don't know exactly, right? So this is where MCP has its limitations right now. But this is where enterprises and businesses need more than MCPs, right? So if you look at traditional MCPs, right, they lack built-in authentication and multi-tenancy. What multi-tenancy means, I'll get to that in a bit, because it's a really exciting part of the MCP ecosystem, right? And businesses require observability, governance, and complete control. So if you're working with an enterprise, right? Let's say we can take example of companies like Microsoft or Google, and they're working with you to build an AI agent, right? So most traditional policies of these companies is that they don't want to be shooting in the dark. They want to have complete observability and control over what they're building, right? And this is very important in terms of like sensitive data. So if you are enabling your customers to work with 100 plus companies, sorry, with 100 plus tools, you need to make sure that there is no sensitive data that's being leaked, right? And there was a recent hijack of an MCP that I remember. It was recently where any action that was being done, it was being forwarded as an email BCC to the attacker, right? So these are some of the constraints around MCP, even though it's powerful, but it does have some constraints. So this is where UCL comes into play. And what it means is that you have a one layer, you have endless tools, and you have multiple tenants, right? So UCL is basically unified context layer. It's a singular layer that allows your AI agent to connect to 1,000 plus tools with little to no code, right? So you don't have to worry about hiring 5 to 10 developers to work with 5 to 10 MCPs. You just have one singular layer. You need to connect it you can connect it to any tool you want, and you can reconnect with any tool that you see fit, right? So, for example, if you have like a business, if you have a client, right? You are a service-based company, you have a client that's saying, hey, I want my agent to work with Jira, Slack, Notion, GitHub. But out of the blue, they say like, we don't want Jira, we want HubSpot. So in traditional MCP way, what you would have to do is head back into your code base, reconfigure the actions, remap the entire actions, and reconfigure your environment variables. Whereas with UCL, what you can do is you can just disconnect and connect. And I'll show you what that means in a bit, right? So in a nutshell, you can enable your AI agents to do more. You own what you build, and you can empower organizations and startups to scale faster, right? But you might be thinking, isn't this just another MCP? Because a lot of people who are very MCP savvy, they might be thinking, is this just similar to MCP? So if I were to compare model context protocol to unified context layer, so you have like a universal type C hub with MCP. With unified context layer, you have an entire workspace. So you can connect to hundreds of apps without the worry of reconnecting or disconnecting. And that's the best analogy to give over here. So you're connecting your AI agents, you're connecting your apps and tools, and you have this one layer to work with it all. So let's just get into the UCL key components, and I'm just going to showcase you that instead. So let me just reshare my screen, and let me just move to my platform over here. If there are any questions, right, I'll look into them a bit later, but let me just showcase to you the application. Okay, so let me know if you guys can see my screen.
We can.
Okay, perfect. So the one thing that we have is, so if I go, this is how you look at unified context layer, right? So right now you're seeing all of these apps that I've connected and all of these actions. But if I go over here and connect any app that I want, I can just go through this wide array of applications that are available for me. So if I want to work with Apollo, if I want to work with Asana, AWS Lambda, I can just go anywhere, right? And if you are like, hey, I just built a service, or if I built an app and I want to build my own MCP. I can literally do it over here, define a custom app or define an MCP, and I can just literally start working with it over here. And the cool thing is that if I go to, let's say, Figma over here, right? So all of these actions that you had to remap, right, with your software engineering team, you had to configure that, code it, and just remap the environment variables, right? But over here, all I have to do is just select actions that are available, or I can just select any of them or select none of them. It works either way. And the one cool thing about it is the MCP server URL. So we have only one server URL. You need just one server URL to work with all of these apps. So traditionally with MCPs, you would have to have like a separate server URL for Google Workspace, separate for GitHub, separate for Bright Data. Instead of that, all I have to do is just utilize one server URL. So right now you can see all of my apps are connected over here, and I can just remove any of them if I want, or just re-enable them. So I don't need to head back into my code. So heading over to the most crucial part is the embedding section, right? So you have connected your apps, right? But you also want to use it into your existing agent, right? So how do you do that, right? So for this, we have this embedding section where every single detail is provided. So if you're trying out MCPs with Cloud Code, and now you are like, hey, I want to try out unified context layer with Cloud Code, the instructions are provided. It's simple, easy, drag and drop, and copy and paste, and you can just easily just start connecting and start using. So there's nothing that you need to go into a separate documentation. Everything that you need is right over here. And the one thing that I think there are a lot of business owners over here. There might be some business owners in this conversation, in this session. So for them, one thing is observability is very crucial, right? So over here, you can observe what's happening. So for example, if I want to see how many users do I have, I can see that 4 users are there that are currently using. I can see how many apps are being used. I can see the latency. I can see the success rate. I can also see the failure rate if any of my actions are failing, right? And I can also see how much data has been used, right? So if I want to see how much should I do with, Bright Data or OpenAI, I can just click over here and it'll show me the transfer data. And the one cool thing is I can also see it for my respective tenants, right? Tenants are basically users. And right now with MCPs, you can't traditionally define multiple tenants, but with UCL, you can easily work with multiple tenants in one go, right? So one more thing is logs. So what logs does is it allows you to analyze what kind of action has been taken place, right? So if I want to see that some customer of mine, or a team member of mine used a HubSpot action, I can see what has happened, right? So I can see the request, all of this request. I can see the response, right? So I can see all of these respective changes, and I can also see the timestamp and the ID, like who was the person that pushed this action, who was the person that called upon this action. So I can see all of that. And one more thing that we definitely have is something for you guys is called the playground option. So what playground does is it basically allows you guys to simply just test it out. So there are a lot of people in the MCP space that are like, hey, I want to actually first test out my application or test out my agent, or try something in a dummy sandbox way. So this is where playground mode comes into play. So in playground mode, what you can do is all of the app that you had connected initially, you can see them over here, and then you can just give it a task to send an email, schedule a meeting, or anything like that. So for example, and the cool thing is that any tools that you have enabled, you can also view them over here, right? So there are some of the tools that I haven't enabled that are not visible over here, and there are some of the tools that are enabled that are visible over here. So it depends upon what you have enabled in the connect section. So, and one more thing about multi-tenancy is that you can have multiple users. So let's take an example of any voice agent company, and they're serving like hundreds of customers, right? So you can't expect them to log out of Gmail or Zendesk or Google Docs every time, right? So this is where multi-tenancy comes into play, right? So over here, you can see that, over here, you can see that my Gmail and my Google Docs is connected in my own user, right? Usman one. So if I switch my tenant to, let's say, Sam Carter, so it will load the connectors and it will show me all of those same apps. But the one thing you'll observe is that Gmail and Google Docs is not connected. So I'll have to, enable these connectors with Sam's email, right, instead of my email. So this is really crucial if you're serving like thousands of customers and you need just one MCP server URL and one centralized layer to work with. Another thing that we also have is what I like to call it as sandbox mode. So what sandbox mode does is that it allows you to test UCL out with a real time agent without the hassle of building an entire agent from scratch, right? So let me just showcase that to you guys. So yeah. So over here, what you're seeing over here is basically a sandbox. And over here, what you just need to do is enter your preferred LLM key and enter your UCL's MCP server. So over here, we have like this dummy agent and all of the documentation is over here. So you can easily go through it. And there are these environment variables. So over here, it's asking me for my LLM API key. You can use Claude, you can use Gemini, you can use anything. And it's asking for the MCP server URL, right? So I'm just gonna add in my, my server URL. I'm gonna add this. And once I connect, I can see that this agent is now available and I can just start using it and playing around with it as I see fit. And you can also edit this assistant in real time. And once you cancel it, once you close this tab, it will refresh back to its original state. So you don't have to worry about messing things up. So this is like this playground for you guys. So I'm going to move on to a demonstration. So let me just move up to now sharing my screen again. So I have one recorded use case for you guys, and I have one live use case for you guys because this is really interesting for people who are looking to build entire context-driven agents on a multi-scale and enterprise level. So coming back to my slides, you said my slides are available, right?
Yes, now we can see them.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna move into a demo. And what I'm gonna do is, so I'm gonna showcase with you as an example. So, so the example over here is that I'm gonna tell UCL to, to create a Google Doc of like 400 or 500 words, and I'm gonna tell it to send an email to my colleague that hey, I created this doc, please check it out. So for to make sure that we are going a bit fast paced with this session, so that's why I've recorded this so that it can be much easier for you guys. But I also have something live available for you as well. So over here, I'm going to tell it to create a Google Doc titled "The Future of Agentic AI." I'm going to tell it to write 500 words, and then I'm going to tell it to send it to my colleague, right? So it's since I have Gmail and Google Docs connected, and the tools are also available, I can just easily get that done. So it's gonna process that and it's gonna just double check that is this what we want and for our confirmation in case we want any changes. So it's gonna run those tools, it's gonna call upon those tools exactly as we want, and you can see that the doc has been created. Now it's gonna move up to sending that doc to my colleague. So it's depending upon your internet speed, it's gonna vary accordingly. So it has sent the email. So like over here, you can see that the future of agentic AI, this doc has been now created. And now I'm gonna tell it to, send this email. So it's gonna send this email and it's gonna just double check if you want like a email body or a subject to it. So it's very, very easy to do, right? So this is something that you would normally take time with MCPs, but now it's taking you only 2 minutes with unified context layer. So the result is that over here you see this 500 words essay on the future of agentic AI written by unified context layer, plugged in with your LLM. And you're seeing the resultant over here that I sent this document to my colleague and with the link attached. So this is the power of unified context layer. Otherwise, you would have to spend like a frustrating amount of time just plugging in these all of these actions accordingly, right? So now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move up to a demo. So for that, we're gonna do something short because but I'm also gonna bring up like a use case. Um, wait, wait, I'm just trying to share my screen. Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah. Okay. So the use case that I have in mind is that if you're a product designer and you have this entire use case, you have this entire user interface, right? You want it to to be analyzed and converted into a product requirement document for your, for your how should I say it, as for your product manager or your project manager, right? So this is a very interesting use case. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head back into UCL for this one, and we're gonna use something. We're going to use something like an IDE for this to make sure it's a bit speeded up. So yeah, let me just share my entire screen for this. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to Fasten, and over here, let's just pick any client for this. So over here, there's Cursor, and it's prompt telling me that first I have to download Cursor, which I've already installed, and I have to head into my MCP, head into my create an MCP server, so which is not a problem. So all I have to do is just copy paste this. And one thing to note is that your server URL is already available over here, so you don't have to worry about copying it from here or making sure that it is the correct one. So all you have to do is just copy it, and I'm gonna do is head over to Cursor. So I'm gonna head into Cursor settings, and let's head into tools and integrations. Wait, let me just, yeah. So over here, you can see that I have my MCP server enabled. If I click over here on this MCP, the same JSON file is, already added over here, right? So, and if I expand upon the tools, all of the tools that I had enabled, right, from Salesforce to GitHub to Google Docs, all of them are enabled over here. So now what I'm going to do is the first step is we are going to need a design, a proper user interface or something like that. So for this, I have already set up something like this. So this is a basic login, create an account page, and make sure that you have your Figma. This is public or this is accessible because even with unified context layer, like it needs to have accessibility to your Figma page, right? So I have the Figma app, the Figma connector enabled, and I have also some of other tools also available to connect. So I'm just gonna head over to Cursor, and we're gonna tell it to um, fetch the components. Wait, let me just zoom this in so that's easier for you to guys to see. So over here, I'm gonna head into to the AI pane, AI pane feature over here on Cursor. So I'm gonna tell it to fetch the components from this Figma file. And you need to make sure that your Figma file is enabled. Sorry, your Figma connector is enabled. Otherwise, it's not gonna process that. So right now, I'm just gonna call upon those tools. So I have my tools enabled, like get files from Figma, get component from Figma. It's gonna do exactly that. So it's just calling those some of those parameters, and depending upon what model you're using, it's gonna give you that result accordingly. So it's just processing that, and over here you can see that all of those elements, all of those nodes have been successfully been retrieved, right? So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a product requirement document, and I can use Notion, Google Docs, anything, right? So for simplicity's sake, we're going to go with Google Docs. So um, convert, uh, take this information and and create a Google Doc titled um, PRD login. And I'm gonna tell it to something like, yeah, create a product requirement document in the Google Doc. So I'm gonna make it right because it might confuse. Yeah. So now, depending upon if I have enabled Google Doc connector, is going to fetch that, and you can see that it's calling create Google Doc, and yeah, it's writing the product requirement document for the login page, and it's asking me to run the MCP tool. So by the way, this is like 10 MCPs that I've connected with just one server URL. So I don't have to worry about, I need to go into Google's documentation or Notion's documentation. It's doing that exactly. And you can see that it's done. Yeah. So you can see the Google Doc title PRD login has been created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back into my browser. Let's see Google Docs. And wait, let me just, yeah. And over here, you can see that the PRD that we had envisioned for this login page, it has been created over here. So this is the power of UCL, because you don't have to worry about 10 or 20 MCPs. You just have one server URL, one JSON, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna head back into my slides, and so another use case I would love to have shown is converting that same design into code and then publishing it on GitHub. But right now, I think due to shortage of time, we can't cover it. But it's a very complex process, and this is something that would require you 5 to 10 MCPs to integrate. But you can easily do that with unified context layer. But for clarity's sake, I have this recorded, and this can be shared with the atomcamp team if needed. So just coming back to scope, right? So what's the scope of this overall? If we think about why unified context layer, why not MCPs, right? Because in a nutshell, that as organizations grow, right? As we see agentic solutions growing, you need to build and scale faster, you need to deploy, and you need to have complete observability. And as as organizations grow, your organization wouldn't want that you would see yourself juggling multiple MCPs or documentation. So hence this is why UCL comes into play, right? So if we think about the crux of it, you have the low code, right? So these are just things that I've just connected, right? Notifications, Gmail, right? This is what low code is. And if you peek the code, right, this is what that's happening, right? This is the code that we see on the back end. And this is something that we aren't taking, into consideration as, AI agents grow, as, the agentic ecosystem grows, because low code is going to be it's going to play a very crucial role in developing certain solutions for users. So common queries that you might be getting is that, is UCL for companies and teams only? No. UCL is in beta and is free and accessible for you guys. So if you are curious into checking out Unified Context Layer, you can easily just create an account and you can get started and work with any tool, any app that you want. And is UCL free and exploring? Same thing as usual. So with that being said, thank you so much. And this is the end of the session. But if you want to learn more about UCL, you can just head over to ucl.dev. And if you're interested to working with us, and our team is in US, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and different regions. So if you're interested to work with us, you can join our Discord, and we'll be sharing a lot of opportunities over there. So keep in touch. And with that being said, if you would like to connect with me on low code and no code, or just learn about anything in particular to model context protocol or unified context layer, I'm there. I'm available. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or any other social, or you can just scan this QR code. With that being said, any questions?
If anybody has any questions, they can drop in the chat box. There's already one that if they can connect UCL with WhatsApp for their business bargaining system.
Yes, yes, you can. We do have a WhatsApp connector, and you can just enable that and configure that according to your agent. So if you're building like a separate agent, you can easily do that. So I would recommend for your business, make sure that you have the right actions enabled, and then you are integrating it with your AI agent, right? Because if you are using the playground or if you're using the sandbox, it might just give you generic results, right? Because you want your AI agent to work for you. UCL sandbox and playground mode allows you to actually test out the MCPs or the actions before actually using them.
Okay. Is there anyone else who has a question? I will also share the community link that you shared, Usman, with the within our community groups as well. So we will
Yeah.
then join the Discord and then can also see like whatever positions that you are hiring for. I can. There's another question. What's the difference between N8 and Fasten.ai? Moreover, why should we prefer Fasten?
Okay, so N8N is more of a solution for individuals and businesses, of course, but there's one thing there's a difference between N8N and Fasten.ai is that for complex business solutions and for embeddability, N8N has a bit lags a bit, right? So if you're talking about something like you want to build entire infrastructure and you want to embed it and control everything, this is what particularly what Fasten.ai does. We would say that we are a bit different from N8N. If you talk about Fasten.ai as a product, right? But what we try to do is try to help businesses build enterprise solutions and embed them as their own, right? So we had a use case with HP, and they wanted to build entire infrastructure, embed it, and control it without the hassle of going back into the platform. So this is where Fasten.ai comes into play. Another question is, can I build more than one agents in it? Yeah, you can build more than one agents with it. I would say if you are testing out a proper agent, I would recommend trying out sandbox mode. Sandbox mode is literally an AI agent. All you have to do is just plug in your preferred API key, LLM, Claude, Gemini, OpenAI, anything, and just plug it in, and you're good to go. Otherwise, I would say the playground mode is the best, right? What's the limit? So right now, we haven't yeah, right now for the limit, we haven't really defined a limit on agent mode because we really just want people to just get crazy with it and just start using it as they please, right? But we do have an enterprise plan where we see like customized solutions, so we definitely have our sales team for it, right? And another question is how UCL can be used for developing customer service representative agent. Oh, this is really good. So this is we built an entire use case on this where if there is an unresolved case on Shopify, it's being converted into a ticket on Zendesk, and then it's being alerted to the team on Slack, or it's being managed in a database like Airtable. So it can definitely do that. So you just need to pick your right connectors. So we have Zendesk available. We do have Shopify and any other platform enabled. You just need to enable it and just connect it, right? And make sure that you are utilizing the right actions. Because if you're not enabling the right actions, then you might get an error. One more thing I would recommend is that if you don't see a service, you can actually even create a service. So that's something that we have that you can, if you are building a product and you want to have your own MCP, you can build that MCP over there on UCL. So another question is one more that how would I be able to create an agent that will bargain just like human, not chatbot, static context, WhatsApp by e-commerce business. Okay, so this is basically called this is where you have to train the agent. So UCL, what it does is that again it allows you to connect your agent to thousands of apps, right? So if you want to work with Figma, Notion, Slack, it's gonna do that. So UCL really can't UCL or even MCP, right? It can't make the chatbot very too human, right? You need to train it, right? I would recommend that there are a lot of platforms out there where you can just train the agent to do exactly what you want. But if you want it to work with other applications, then unified context layer comes into play. Can we automate daily content uploading on social media? Yeah, you can. It will depend upon how you're going to configure your agent. It all depends upon the agent because, again, if you want your agent to work with apps, UCL comes into play. But if you wanted to do certain actions, you will have to just configure and put in the right actions. That's it. Like select the right action, sorry. And that's it. Like you don't have to worry about anything else. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think I'll also drop the link to try it out, the beta version, so that people can try it out. And I'm sure once they do
Yeah.
it, themselves, they'll have other questions which they can always
Yeah,
reach out to you personally over LinkedIn as well. And then I'll be sharing their community link. Usman has already put that in. There is another one.
yeah,
Does UCI
yeah.
build voice agents?
Yeah, I just pinned this message for you guys. Just head into the chat and you'll find ucl.dev available and you can just test it out. And if you are looking to, just join the community, you can just, just look into this link over here.
I'll also
Wait, yeah.
put in the atomcamp community as well.
Yeah, and okay, does UCL support to build voice agent? Okay, this is a really good thing, right? And this is a really good question. So we recently did a partnership with Twillet, and Twillet is basically this platform to build voice agents. So if I just head over to UCL one more time, I really want to show that so you guys can get the idea. Yeah. So if I go over here back to Connect, and let's go to Connect apps. If I go to Trillet, right? Trillet is basically a platform to build voice agents. So this is the connector. All I need to do is select these actions and I'm good to go. So over here, all I need to do is create a call agent called XYZ. It's going to ask me for some specifics and it will do that all on its own using UCL. But one thing is to make sure that you have an account, right? So if you're going to use services like Trillet, just create a Trillet account and then just select all of these actions and you're good to go. What if I don't find an integration of my own choice? Okay, so if you don't find an integration of your own choice, over here, you can have something called define a custom app, and you can literally create a connector. So you can create a new connector, you can give it basic information, and you and give it some advanced options, authentication, and you're good to go. So if you don't see it, you can create it. But if you are like, hey, I just want to see it, then our team is regularly adding more and more MCPs as we go on. Will it be able to handle dynamic context switches? Yeah, it can. It can. Because the idea is to handle context switching. I receive 2000 plus daily customers through WhatsApp. Do they bargain, handle? Is UCL best for this scenario? Yes, it is best for this scenario because I talked about like how MCP isn't multi-tenant, right? So if you start using UCL and start embedding it into your solution, all you need to do is embed it, and then the you can either create tenants on the back end, or if you have like a front end scenario where people need to create accounts, then it can automatically be created. So you don't have to worry about serving thousands of customers because we have a lot of companies that have like thousands of customers and they want to have like one layer and serve like thousands of users in one go. I want to learn agentic AI. How can I be a pro at it? I would say you can try out this website called roadmap.sh. It can tell you a roadmap. It can give you an entire roadmap on agentic AI
Or
if
you can
you
also
are.
join atomcamp's bootcamp.
Yeah, yeah, that's also an amazing thing. If you're looking to just learn agentic AI, I think atomcamp is like a very well-paced, learning organization for that. Otherwise, if you're just curious about roadmaps, and there's like thousands of resources out there. Okay, so
I think that's it. I'm sure जब लोग ज़्यादा explore करेंगे तो they'll know more and they'll have more questions so that you can always reach out to. Okay, there is one more.
okay. If I'm right, MCP server allows real-time web search or scraping. Is it possible to build an AI search using? Okay, so MCP server, so it depends upon what kind of MCP server you're using. So if you heard of Bright Data basically allows web scraping. So so I would say alternatively, what you can do is just use the Bright Data connector over here. So if I go over here, let's search for bright data, and you can go over here, and this basically allows you to just extract any data from any website, from any platform, and all you need to do is just connect it, right? So with MCP, traditionally you can, but I would say that if you just want to just deploy something, why not just go for a unified solution, embed it, see what's happening, what are the errors, what are the success rates, just see everything. So I would recommend just going for this platform. But MCP is definitely right. There's a standalone MCP for everything. There is an MCP that's being built for specific use cases. But there are a lot of businesses that are like, we can't trust MCPs. Like if you go into Reddit, there's an entire error that there's an entire issue that came around with MCPs recently, and that really shocked a lot of people, and that also raised a lot of concerns. And if you look into the European region, they also have a concern with MCP's security policy, right? So this is where having unified layers with complete embeddability and control is so important. Would we share common context and multi-agent framework scenario via this UCL? Yes, definitely. You just need to make sure that you are using adding your URL, and you're making sure that using the right workspace. One thing I forgot to mention is that your agents are tied to your connections are tied to your workspace, right? So if you have something like, let's say, if you have a marketing department, if you have an engineering department, right? So your engineering department might be using GitHub, Gitbook, GitLab, right? And your marketing department must be using Gmail, Gmail, Notion, whatever, right? And you don't want that. If the same platform is being used, you disconnect those and then you use the engineering one, right? That creates a lot of hassle. So this is where workspace comes into play. So think of it that this is like the engineering workspace. Think of this is like as the marketing workspace. So I head into my engineering workspace, then I can see all of those apps that I'm seeing, right? And the cool thing is that in if you look closely over here, when you look at the platform, right, you see something called Space ID. And what Space ID does is that it identifies that same workspace and allows you to and allows your AI agent to identify that these are the connectors that it needs to work with, right? And you can easily just copy it over here. So you don't have to worry about space ID, you don't have to worry about API key. But if you are worried about that, then we do have an entire walkthrough for it, right? And one more thing, if you are just curious about build using a dummy agent, then over here we have this demo over here. You'll head into GitHub, you'll clone this repository, and then you can just, you'll see an agent that's readily available to you. All you need to do is plug in your MCP server URL and your LLM API key, and you're good to go. And you can just play around with it as you see fit, as if it's your own agent.
I think we have covered all the questions. Thank you so much, Asman, for your time and for sharing all of this in detail. I think बहुत सारी clarity तो लोगों को मिल गई होगी, and if they have any other questions, you can always reach out to Usman. He has shared his LinkedIn as well. एक दफा आप दोबारा you can drop your LinkedIn down, Usman, if people would want to connect
Yeah,
and
yeah,
reach out
definitely.
to you for any particular question. We also have, if you like, few boot camps coming in, so you can also join if you want to learn agentic AI, data analytics, data science. Our boot camps are about to start, so you can always join in and learn and be pro at it.
Yeah, I just dropped my LinkedIn. If you guys just want to connect on UCL, MCP, then you can just reach out on this, right? Um,
Mhm.
Guardrails could be used in this. I didn't get the question. I think you're talking about guardrails. So we are working on guardrails, but we do have an entire white paper that just mentioned the security aspect of it, right? So yeah, please share his LinkedIn over here. Okay, I'm just sharing
Yeah.
the LinkedIn over here again, and yeah. Yes, guardrails define boundaries for the agent. Yeah, I think guardrail is something that's on our mind, right? Because again, this is in beta, and we want to make sure that security and compliance is the main thing, right? So we right now we do have entire documentation on this, entire an entire white paper on this, which will be made public as well. But if you head into UCL Dev, right? If you head into UCL.dev again, you'll head into documentation, and you'll find an entire security policy for it, right? So you don't have to, worry too much about that. Okay, any other questions? I think, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's visible. It's a very insightful session. People keep asking questions as I'm about to wrap it up. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to wait for a minute if somebody else has another question.
yeah. And again, if you guys are into, if you're looking for jobs or anything like that, we are partnered with atomcamp as well. So you can also just join this Discord to, get a referral on. We're hiring AI engineers, ML engineers, integration engineers, full stack developers. So you can just easily join this. I am always active on Discord as well as developer relations. So you can just ping me about UCL anytime.
And this is really cool because we are also launching a placement program at atomcamp. So we're partnering up with different companies where we can give them our best students who have done really well during the course. So we are also in the process of identifying that system in place for us. So we would definitely want that whenever somebody needs someone in the AI field and data analytics side, so we'll be able to provide them with the talent as well. So
Yeah, perfect.
that's there. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Usman, for your time, for sharing all the details with us. And I'm sure people will try these things out. And if you have any other question, you can reach out to Usman or you can also reach out to Atom Camp. We'll try to answer all of those with best of our abilities. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It was
Thank you.
great connecting with you guys. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye.